How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Average Joe, the series where I'll be taking a look at a vehicle and telling you whether or not I believe it's worth the average player's time, or in this case, their money. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at the A-18C Early, a 12.7 Rank 8 premium American fighter jet. With all of that out of the way, let's jump right into what this vehicle is capable of, starting with the weaponry. First off, your primary weapon is going to be the 20mm Vulcan cannon. Now, this thing is still, to this day, one of the best, if not the best, air-to-air cannon in the entire game, especially when it comes to top tier. Once you get used to the spin up on this weapon, its high rate of fire and very high velocity make it one of the best guns in the game for top tier air-to-air combat, especially in quick dogfights that you need to get in, kill the person, and then get out. When it comes to ammo, you definitely do not have the most, and you're going to get through really fast due to the fact that the Vulcan has an insanely high rate of fire. You only have 578 rounds, which is definitely not the most of any Vulcan, especially at top tier, but it is still more than the F-16. At the end of the day, my favorite thing with this Vulcan is the fact that it's mounted directly in the center of the nose, which is something that is not common at all in this game, especially at top tier. The closest thing you're ever going to find to that is actually probably the F-14, and let me tell you, I love it. Moving on to secondary weapons, I'm going to show it on screen because I'm not going to be talking about the air-to-ground ordnance, but it's frankly absurd how many options you have. Now, in this video, I'm only going to be talking about two of the secondary ordnances, being the AIM-9L and the AIM-7P. Starting with the former, the AIM-9L is frankly amazing. It's probably the most consistent missile in the entire game that doesn't have IRCCM. It's a 30G all-aspect missile that can easily deal with targets at a range. It has, on average, I'd say between 3 kilometers and 3.5 kilometers of range, especially if it has to turn a bit. It can reach targets as far as 4, but I wouldn't trust it. Just don't fire it too close because it does take a second to start pulling. On top of that, it also does have minor flare resistance, which is amazing. If people don't cut their afterburner when you fire this in rear aspect or against hotter planes even in side aspect, it's gonna go straight through their flares. Overall, the AIM-9L is probably my favorite missile in the game just because of how consistent it is, yet, well, still being fair, unlike the AIM-9M and the R-73 where they have, you know, IRCCM, where if you get behind somebody, they're basically dead. This, they do have a chance, they just have to be smart, so it's very good for catching people that are unaware. You can carry up to 6 of them as well, which is just very nice because you really don't have to be careful with them. At the end of the day, this plane can carry 10 missiles total if you're carrying 6 of these 9Ls, and they are more than enough to handle anything that you're going to need to do with an IR missile at close to medium range. Moving on to the missile that was released with this plane, the AIM-7P. For the most part, the AIM-7P is your fairly standard SAR radar missile. It's almost identical to the AIM-7M in every way. It pulls 25 Gs, it has a top speed of Mach 4, which does mean that it doesn't exactly outpace almost any of the radar missiles that you're going to be competing against, and it keeps the pretty standard decent close range performance, pretty good medium range performance, and pretty bad long range performance of the AIM-7M. However, it does have one thing the AIM-7M does not have, and that feature is the ability to unlock and relock onto either the same target or a different target after launch, similarly to how the R-27R and ER can, which is incredibly useful if somebody's trying to notch you, especially at medium to long ranges. Or if you lose lock on somebody because they go behind a building or a hill or a mountain, whatever, you can switch targets if needed. Now, in my opinion, this does not make it better than the R-27ER due to the fact that it's still outsped and outranged. However, it does now beat out the AIM-7M because it's basically the same thing, but better. Now, you could carry up to 6 of these missiles, however, if you do that, you're only going to be able to carry 2 9Ls, so personally, I bring 4 of them and then 6 9Ls, totaling 10 missiles. Paired with that, the radar is also fairly effective on this plane. It's nothing special, but it does have a fairly good ACM mode, and its standard search PD mode is also pretty good, so you shouldn't really have that much trouble finding your target and locking them. Moving on, let's talk about flight performance. Now, depending on how you want to fly this plane, the flight performance is either going to be the reason you love it or the reason you hate it. For me, I love it. So let's start with the 2 worst features about the flight performance, and then we'll work to what I like about it, and why these 2 bad traits aren't necessarily that bad. First, your top speed. It's not good. When you're carrying your 10 missiles, you're only going to have a top speed just above Mach 1, which is definitely not good for the BR. The only planes you're really going to be outspeeding are going to be Harriers. Now, the low top speed on this thing is definitely a drawback, however, it does have 2 advantages. One of them being the fact that you can lose speed and get down to a good turning speed very quickly, usually faster than your opponents, and to pair with that, It means that whenever you do get into a dogfight, you'll almost always be the first one to get guns on. And the other thing that most people dislike is the fact that this plane bleeds speed incredibly fast. A lot of people would compare it to the Su-27, which I think is fair. I don't think it's as bad as that, but it is still a fair comparison. Now, bleeding speed quickly also has its advantages, such as the fact that you can get into a turn faster, like I said, from your high speed. It does also mean that you're going to be getting out of your optimal turning speed faster, but, you know, you gotta take some and give some, so yeah. On top of that, your low speed performance is not nearly as bad as the Su-27, so getting down to that super low speed does not instantly mean you've lost. It will hinder you compared to your optimal turning speed, and you should ideally try and finish fights quickly in this plane. But if a prolonged fight does happen and you're not fighting something like an F-16 or a Gripen or anything along those lines, you should still be fine. Now then, let's move on to what I like about the flight performance and what I think is amazing about it. First off, you pull an absurd amount of AOA, and on top of that, your turning speed in general is still very good. Just overall, the maneuverability on this plane is fantastic. If you really need to in the middle of a dogfight, you do have the ability to turn off the AOA limiter on this thing. Personally, I would only do it as a last-ditch effort, because if you do, you're going to instantly lose all your speed, and especially if you have all your weapons still on you, you're just going to start falling out of the sky. But you do have it there in case you need it for just that little bit more AOA to get a shot. Next up is probably my favorite thing about the plane, and the reason why I don't care that you lose so much speed, or why I don't care that the top speed isn't that high. That being the acceleration. Now, during actual matches, this means that you're going to get to the battlefield around the same time as your team. It doesn't matter that you have a very low top speed compared to them, because you accelerate so much faster than them that you're going to be halfway to the battlefield before they are. So by the time they get there, you're only either just behind them, or in some cases, you're in front of them on smaller maps. This also gives this plane the ability to go into the furball and do the big merge that always happens near top tier, where everyone just kinda headbutts each other and you hope for the best, and then everyone turns around. Well, you can do that turnaround because you have incredibly good maneuverability, and then you can accelerate back up to your top speed insanely quickly, usually catching a lot of people on the enemy team still turning around. This high acceleration also allows you to get out of dodge the second that you realize, I probably shouldn't be here anymore. Good example would be a 2v1 dogfight of, let's say you're fighting an Su-27 and a MiG-29. Now, both of these planes you can beat in a dogfight. However, they do have the advantage of, there's two of them. So if you're fighting both of them and you kill one and you realize the other one could get a shot if you finish the next turn, just don't finish the next turn. Just dive down and away, get some speed, and you'll be long gone before they have the chance to get a missile on you, unless it's an R-73, in which case, well, you tried. Will they catch you eventually? Yeah, eventually. You're going to be long gone and have more than enough space to make a decision, turn around, reset the fight. That is the most important thing in this plane, the fact that you get to dictate, resetting the fight. If the other person tries to run away, unless they did it at the very beginning of the fight where they still have all their speed, doesn't matter. You'll accelerate up to them. Doesn't matter that they have a higher top speed, you're still gonna catch them. Oh, you need to run away? Great, do it. You'll get like 4 or 5 kilometers distance between you and them, turn around, you're already accelerated back up to nearly top speed, and if it's not top speed, great, even better, you're at your optimal turning speed, almost guaranteed at that point, and now the other person, maybe at 75% of their top speed, now has to fight you on your terms. And when you're getting close to the end of the game, maybe there's 4 or 5 people left on each team, there's a chance for some actual dogfights. You know what you do? You scout out the enemy team, you see them, you maybe find one person off on their own. It's like a medic in TF2 when you're the scout. You show up, bish, bang, bong, dead. Bonk, you leave. You turn around, you see someone's chasing you, don't matter. You're going to throw in another beating for free. You're going to turn around, you're going to make them waste all their energy in a quick little dogfight. If you're winning, great. Stick it. Just kill them. Easy. If not, who cares? Reset the fight. You'll win anyway. If a smart player is playing this thing, it's terrifying in a dogfight. If it's a bad player, they're going to fall out of the sky and sit right in front of your guns, and you're going to have an easy time killing them. Don't be that guy. Know when you need to leave, know when you need to reset. Now last up we got miscellaneous. Now there isn't that much to talk about here, really. I just left the fact that the ACM window is kinda tiny for some reason on this plane. Not that big a deal, it just means that you gotta point your nose directly at whoever you want to lock onto. And really the only other thing is the countermeasures, which you only get 60. That is like the biggest drawback to this plane in my opinion, is the fact that you only get 60 countermeasures and you gotta split them between chaff and flares, which yeah, at 12.7, you do actually have to split them, because multipathing is only so consistent nowadays. Overall, if you play this thing as a low-altitude brawler where you do the quick little pass with everybody, and then you play this thing by brawling with people, pick a target or two, go for them, and then get out, reset the fight, repeat, you're gonna have a great time. Play this thing with a buddy who's in the same plane, or even better, honestly, a fast plane like the F-16, and you're going to have a blast. And now we got the part that you knew was coming. Is it worth it? Well, let's talk about the price. Alright, so, for the pack, because it's a pack premium, of course it is, it's going to cost you $80 USD, $79.99. With it, you're going to get the plane, 30 days of premium time, and 3,000 golden eagles. Now, that's a lot. That's very expensive. That's absurdly expensive. And because of how expensive it is, I just bumped my microphone. I'm leaving that in. Because of how expensive it is, I can't say it's worth it, despite the fact that it's probably the most fun I've had in any premium plane, other than maybe the F4EJ ADTW, in a long time. Now, when this thing eventually goes on sale and you can pick it up for like 40 USD, honestly, it's really good. It's rank 8. It's going to be able to research the entire tech tree, probably the entirety of War Thunder's existence if I had to guess. So yeah, pick it up on sale. Why not? However, there are definitely cheaper alternatives that are much more user-friendly, such as the F-5C, which I've also done a video on if you want to see that. However, I will say battle ratings and new vehicles have changed and everything, and so the game is a decent bit different at that battle rating than when I made that video. But overall, I would say you're probably better off just picking up the F-5C whenever that goes on sale until this thing starts going on sale, and even then, the F-5C is probably still more user-friendly. With all of that out of the way, I'd just like to thank you all for watching. I know I've been gone for, well, a while, putting it lightly. I'm gonna come back. I'll probably start doing live streams because I finally got OBS sorted out, so that would be neat to do. You know, play vehicles that I haven't made videos on that you guys want to see me play. I could do it on live stream, or, you know, eventually I'll just make a video on it. Either way, thank you again. Continued support obviously helps. Comments and stuff like that, always nice to see. That's actually why I came back and made this video. I saw a comment that I was like, wow, people actually like the reviews, so I'm back. And as far as I know, I'm here to stay. So thank you all again. Please let me know in the comments if there's any vehicles you'd like for me to cover in the future. I believe the next vehicle I'm going to do is the F4EJ ADTW, because somebody requested that a long time ago, and then I stopped making videos. But now I'm back, so I'm going to cover that. And you all have a good one.